Hello everyone! This is our thesis presentation entitled Educational Tours as a Learning Tool to the Third Year Tourism Students of the Salle University, Dasmarinas. I'm Jackqueline Uy,
I'm Hannah Miriam Verano.
And I'm Chrysler Verbo.
and we are students from College of Tourism and Hospitality Management at the La Salle University, Dasmariñas. Let's begin.
For the introduction,
Excellent.
educational tours are a learning experience. The purpose of this tour was to broaden the skills and abilities of tourism students for their future work in the industry. According to CAMAT, educational tour stimulates the mind while engaging the students in a new environment. International educational tours allow the students to improve their current skills, exposure to other heritage, culture, language, destination, and foreign people. Developing the confidence and self-esteem of the students, gain exposure, have advantage in their career paths, and use what they have learned to their future and society. Many studies have been done about educational tours. However, there have not been a study done on the effectiveness of educational tour as a learning tool, specifically on the third-year tourism students of De La Salle University Das Marinas. For the statement of the problem, this study mainly focuses on determining the effectiveness of educational tours as a learning tool to the third-year tourism students of De La Salle University Das Marinas, Cavite. This research aims to achieve the following objective. First, to determine the demographic profile of the third-year tourism students in terms of gender, section, educational tours joined, and family income. Second, to determine the effectiveness of educational tours as a learning tool in terms of active experimentation, concrete experience, reflective observation, and abstract conceptualization. Third, to determine if there is a significant difference between the demographic profile of the respondents and their assessment of the effectiveness of educational tours as a learning tool. This study focuses on the effectiveness of educational tours as a learning tool to the third-year tourism students of De La Salle University, Dasmariñas. This study limits the educational tours to international countries, namely Taiwan and South Korea only. It will be conducted to 105 randomly selected third-year tourism students of the school year 2021 to 2022. The findings of this study will be helpful to the students because they will know the effectiveness of educational tours as a learning tool and learn to appreciate the College of Tourism and Hospitality more. Next, it will help the professor to improve future tour journal outputs to students. While lastly, it will be beneficial to future researchers because they can use this as references to their research. Next, literature
Sorry.
review.
For the literature review, Barton states that the learning involves the acquisition of abstract concepts that can be applied flexibly in a range of situations. In Cobb's experiential learning theory, the impetus for the development of new concept is provided by a new experience. He therefore states that learning is the process whereby knowledge is created through the transformation of experience. There are four stages in Cobb's experiential learning theory, namely concrete experience, reflective observation, abstract conceptualization, and active experimentation. The student learns effectively if they progress through the cycle completely, but the cycle can also be entered at any stage. This is the experiential learning cycle by David Cobb. So this is where our thesis is highly anchored upon. The researchers believe that utilizing this learning theory will aid them greatly in determining the effectiveness of educational tours as a learning tool to the third-year tourism students of De La Salle University, Dasmariñas, Cavite. For the methodology, this is the research design is quantitative historical research design. The objective of the study is to see the effectiveness of the educational tours. Participants in the study include the third-year tourism students, and the sampling method is simple random sampling. The sample size is 105, and the population size is 115. Our research instrument used was a survey questionnaire with a 4-point Likert scale. Statistical tools include frequency and percentage, mean and standard deviation, t-test, and analysis of variance, or otherwise known as ANOVA. We conducted the research via online using Google Forms because of the pandemic since we cannot come to school. Okay, for the results and discussion.
For the results and discussion, we had a total of 105 respondents for our survey. For Table 1, it shows the distribution of the respondents based on their gender. 53 of the respondents are female and 52 are male. meaning the respondents are almost equally answered by both genders. For Table 2, it shows the distribution of the respondents based on their section. There are 4 sections in the Tourism Department of De La Salle University, Dasmarinas. As you can see in the table, meet the entry to hit the greatest number of respondents, which is 29, followed by BTM31, which is 27, then BTM34, which is 25, and lastly BTM33, which is 24. For Table 3, it shows the distribution of the respondents based on their educational tours joined. As you can see, the educational tour in South Korea has a greater number of students participated than educational tour in Taiwan. For Table 4, it shows the distribution of the respondents based on their family's monthly income. As you can see, mostly of the family income of the respondents were 20,001 and above, which is 90, followed by 15,001 to 20,000, which is 7, then 10,001 to 15,000, which is 6, and lastly, 2 students responded that their family income is only 5,000 to 10,000 a month. For Table 5, it shows the respondents' assessment of educational tours as a learning tool in terms of active experimentation. In terms of active experimentation, the highest mean obtained is an item number 10, which is I was able to answer the tour journal based on the educational tour. This number obtained the highest mean, which is 3.70, with a standard deviation of 0.48. This means that the students place a high value on the tour journals given after the educational tours. However, the last mean obtained are both item number 6 and 7. Item number 6 is I have practiced what I have learned in the educational tour on the classroom. And 7 is I was able to apply what I learned in the educational tours on daily activities. The respondents interpret both numbers only as agree. This means that the students do not practice or apply what they have learned in the classroom, and this could be because of the classroom is confined space or learning already. For Table 6, it shows the respondents' assessment of educational tours as a learning tool in terms of concrete experience. In terms of concrete experience, the highest mean obtained is 3.77, which is item number 10, and it is I had fun during the educational tour. This means that the respondents truly enjoyed the educational tours, and they strongly agree with the statement. The students may find the free day enjoyable because they are free to roam around the area and explore places outside the itinerary that they truly want to see. However, the item number with the least mean is number 3 because it has a mean of 3.49 and a standard deviation of 0.77, which can be interpreted as agree. Item number 3 is I have interacted with students outside my section during the educational tour. This means that the students did not have much interaction with their batchmates outside their section during the tours. One possible reason is that the time constraint because educational tours follow a strict schedule, and this may cause them to be in a hurry or follow their section. For table number 7, it shows the respondents' assessment of educational tours as a learning tool in terms of reflective observation. In terms of reflective observation, the item number with the highest mean is item number 2, which is I was able to experience their local foods. It has a mean of 3.68 and has a standard deviation of 0.51, which can be interpreted as strongly agree. This means that out of 10 questions, in terms of reflective observation, this item was the most part that the students reflected and discussed during the educational tours. However, the item with the lowest mean is number 8, which is I was able to discover a problem for a visited destination in the educational tour. It has a mean of 3.44 and a standard deviation of 0.62, which can be interpreted as agree. Since visiting destinations excite a person which makes it memorable, they would then take pictures or videos as souvenirs. Since the students are busy taking this, some problems may occur such as overcrowding or littering. For table 8, it shows the respondents' assessment of educational tours as a learning tool in terms of abstract conceptualization. In terms of abstract conceptualization, 2 item numbers have the same highest mean, and they are item number 7 and 9. Item number 7 is I was further motivated to learn because of the educational tour. And item number 9 is I was able to use educational tour as a learning tool. Both item numbers have a mean of 3.68 and a standard deviation of 0.47, which can be interpreted as strongly agreed. This means that the educational tours were used as a learning tool to help the respondents be more motivated in the tourism management course, while it is confirmed that educational tour is an effective learning tool by the third year tourism management students. For table 8 and 9, for table 9, it shows the result on the significant difference between gender in the respondents' assessment of educational tours with the experiential learning theory using t-test. The result shows that gender is not a factor when it comes to the respondents' assessment of educational tours as a learning tool because all of the p-value was more than significance level of 0.05. For table 10, it shows the result on the significant difference between section and the respondent's assessment of educational tours with the experiential learning theory using ANOVA. The result shows that section is not a factor when it comes to the respondent's assessment of educational tours as a learning tool because all of the p-value was more than significance level of 0.55. The respondents consider educational tours as a highly effective learning tool, regardless of their section. And lastly, for table 11, it shows the result and the significant difference between monthly family income and the respondent's assessment of educational tours with the experiential learning theory using ANOVA. The results showed that monthly family income is not a factor when it comes to the respondent's assessment of educational tours as a learning tool because of all the p-value was more than significance level of 0.05. Ayun. Okay na sis. Okay na.
So, so for the conclusion, the result of the study answered the profile of the respondents such as the gender, section, educational tours joined, and family monthly income. There were 53 students, 50.48%, who joined the educational tours, and BTM 32 had a number of 29 students or 27.62% who had the greatest number compared to the other sections. South Korea tour has more attendance from 89 students out of 105 students respondents out compared to Taiwan tour. Lastly, most of the respondents came from family with monthly income of 20 and 1,000 pesos and above that have a frequency of 90 and a percentage of 85.71. The findings of this study showed that the third year tourism management students strongly agree that educational tours are highly effective learning tool in terms of active experimentation, concrete experience, reflective observation, and abstract conceptualization based on the data gathered from the respondents. The researcher found that there is no significant difference between the demographic profile of the respondents, such as gender, section, educational tours joined, and family monthly income. All the respondents agree that educational tours are a highly effective learning tool regardless of their demographic profile. Thank you for listening our research.
Yes, that was our research presentation. Thank you so much for listening. Once again, I'm Jacqueline Iuy.
And I am Hannah Miriam Verano.
And I'm Chrysler Luis Verbo.
And that was our presentation. The end.
Oh my gosh.